D. And I'll turn it over to the manager to talk about bills on Lake Mac and focus on Wisteria Road and issues. Mr. Cousins.
Sure, the bills on Lake Mac are moving forward. We had a meeting, the committee last week. Excuse me, the first layer of asphalt's been placed throughout the project on the roads. The foundation for the clubhouse started. There's 2 buildings that are under construction. The utilities are being installed, and we should see framing within the next week. Emergency access from the North Shore into the project has been installed. Geotech is laid. It's too late in the year to seed it, so it's going to look like the sidewalk is in place. Everything else is there. Like I said, it'll be seeded at the beginning of the spring. The underground gas, electric, and cable are in the process of being started, and that'll take about 6 weeks for that to all be put in underground. That's moving forward. The sales trailer is supposed to be there this week. I didn't go out today to double check that, but if it's not there, it'll be there really soon. And keep in mind with that sales trailer, that's actually set on where one of the buildings will be, so there's a temporary parking lot there, and that'll go away when that last building gets built. As soon as the main building is built, the clubhouse gets finished, then the sales trailer, all that stuff will move into that building, and we can tear that all out and put in that building. I think it's number 10. So that's where things are with the buildings. There were some questions in the last week or 2 about geotechnical soil reports and boring samples. There have been at different parts of the project some borings to verify what's under the surface for things like stormwater and plumbing and basements and all of that. And that's typically that's reviewed by our engineering firm. So that's happened throughout the project. There's nothing special that was required or that they found require any follow-ups to that. So that's kind of where things are with the villas proper. Then there's been some discussion about the Wisteria Drive and what is happening there. I think we have to kind of keep in mind that the Wisteria Road part of this project is road commission. And yes, it resulted because of the PUD, but it wasn't part of the PUD itself. The road commission requires the turnaround. The road commission has required the storm drainage that is a little more extensive, I guess, than what you might expect with the construction of a road. But those things have been done by the road, or required by the road commission. So I was asked, there was a plan for the cul-de-sac, the parking area, the stormwater retention. Why was that not brought to the township for approval? And that's because it's part of the road commission aspect. It's their road, and it went through the proper channel, which would be the road commission. I've been asked, we've had a few folks in the office ask about the road looks like it's closed. And I'm talking about the part past the turnaround that goes down to Water's Edge. There was a road closed sign that the road commission required during construction, mainly because as they're putting in the stormwater retention area, they didn't want vehicles to drive down into the basin that's being repaired there. There will be bollards installed around that basin that will prevent or at least slow down the vehicle. So once that is put in place, then that road closed sign will go away. Additionally, the county communicated with them about transferring the maintenance of that road end to the township so that we can control how it looks and how it's maintained. And Commission. And so we can go down and clean up the trash, and cut up the felled trees that are kind of blocking that entranceway. The initial plan that was presented to the Road Commission was to put bollards all the way across the road. But the Road Commission has agreed, as long as we put bollards around the drainage area, the rest of the bollards are not required. And so we've already asked that those not be installed. The parking area that was put in, or is being put in, was to replace the sand parking that was at the end of the road before. So we end up needing a better parking area. But those vehicles at the present time, unless the board in the future changes it, they wish to drive down the water's edge like they have in the past. At least I've seen ruts from those that are trying to get back up the hill. They'll still be able to do that. So there was a minor inconvenience while this was being constructed, but once it's done, it'll be open back up.
And do we have agreement with the Algonquin County Road Commission right now that as long as we do the maintenance past the cul-de-sac, that will stay open as it has in the past?
Yes, I have that earlier this week.
And as far as the need to transfer, for them to vacate that and give it to the township, and I know it's a lengthy process, is that going to be worth going through? I know there's a cost, and you got to go through a DNR or somebody
This
else.
afternoon, I had a talk with the road commission, and we also traded emails about vacating that roadway. As you probably know from past experience, the road commission is very hesitant to give up any of their road ends as far as vacating. They're here to be very happy to give up the maintenance part, which is why we got the okay so quickly. But they'll go through the process. There is a fee, I think it's $400 to request a public hearing to go through the process. But the real kicker is the DNR gets involved with any land that's owned by a municipality, or in this case, county road commission, that's being transferred. They get the opportunity, the DNR gets the opportunity to take that over. It's going to another public entity. And so I would think we wouldn't want the DNR to say, yes, we do want that piece, and we're going to make it a boat launch. Well, whether they would or not, remains to be seen, but we would want to at least have a communication with the DNR before we move forward with any vacation request. In the meantime, we've got control of that area. If we're going to make any improvements or want to make improvements, those have to be approved by the road commission. But everything that is on that drawing that I sent out, they had already approved, and the contractor that's doing the bills is putting all of that in as part of creating the cul-de-sac. As I said, I've already advised the road commission we're going to probably remove those bollards that block off the road, so we can still have, as we had this spring and years before, access to Boy's Edge. So we're good in that aspect.
Comments, questions for the manager on this topic? Jan?
And just looking at this map, at the road end now, it's saying, Township Park entrance and parking lot. Are we planning on putting a parking lot in there?
Thank you for mentioning that. When Fishbeck is the engineering firm for Covenant, and so they were required to, or hired additional by Covenant to finish off this road and do the cul-de-sac. As they were creating their drawings that they submitted to the county, I can't say why, but it's my understanding that they felt they needed to have this road work separated from the PUD work. So PUD is all villas, villas, villas. This is township, and the fellow who drew this said, I just labeled it as a township park.
I think that's
So
what
we're not
a lot of
creating- Yeah,
misunderstanding comes.
it's just on this drawing that was submitted to the county.
But it's a drawing of record.
It's not just that, Johnny, there's another. And let me comment on that, because I did speak with Brett Lawson. He called me Friday, I called Tom, in transparency, called the chair of the County Road Commission. And when I saw the clarity around what you shared here, because that was the concern, was that the bollards across the road, I want to be really clear, Brett made it clear to me when I asked him, are you requiring bollards across the road? He said, no. What we are requiring is a separation, a barrier of some kind for the retention, the water retains. But when Fishbeck presented us a plan with the bollards, with the name Wisteria Township Park, we assumed, this is Brett chatting, we assumed that Township was in agreement with that, or else why would Township Park be on there? So words matter. What he said to me was, in a very transparent way, he said, I said, so a lesson here is due diligence, right? And he said, yeah, he goes, we kind of, from some of the questions that we've gotten here, maybe we should have double checked with the township around, is this really a township park? So there was good learnings, there was good things that came out of this dialogue, okay? Just one of us, I think, take it, but it matters, and that's where being a member of the road committee, why I was so curious around this, because the road committee, and Jeff, you're on the road committee, this never came to us as a township park. And when I saw not just the black and white that you sent and shared with us, but it was great, but then also the colored document that I got from Brett Laughlin that I shared with the board in my email yesterday. You see a walkway, you see topsoil, grass, so it was like a conversion. There's a landing where there's a park bench and all that kind of stuff. So it's like,
It's already on its way.
so yeah, it's on its way. So OCRC thought that because the name Wisteria Township Park was on the drawings, that the board approved to convert it, and they were fine. They said, his email to me was, we will work with the township on what you want. And so the assumption was that that's what we wanted, but that's not what we wanted.
One of the clarifications just came from, and help me out, Dave Lou was at that meeting, so Bill, along with Ed, we had the Bill's communications meeting last Thursday afternoon, and the engineer from Fishbeck was there, and of course we were concerned with that first drawing we saw with the bollards closing off the road, and according to him, at least if I understood it right, that would have been required by the Otter County Road Commission, and if the township didn't take on the maintenance responsibility beyond the cul-de-sac, because they were going to basically close the road right there, because they didn't want any ongoing maintenance costs.
That is not what Brett Laughlin told me on the phone.
I couldn't agree more. I think that is factually incorrect.
That is-
Repeat that statement.
Well, but what happened? We said, we'll take the maintenance, and they said, you don't have to have the bollards.
Everyone I've spoken to, and forgive me, because, and two of these guys called me, because I told you guys I was going to call this, but that is absolutely false. From the chair and the managing director, they've never, my conversations, they've never said that.
John Gutierrez?
I
So
specifically,
from Brett Laughlin, Tom, and
John Gutierrez and I have traded emails, and I have an email from him that says, with this maintenance agreement, if you wish to remove those bollards, you can.
and the reason why is exactly what Brett Laughlin said to me. He said, we are not requiring the bollards across the road. We are only requiring he said, he didn't say bollards, he said, we are only requiring, and he said, I know the engineer for Fishbeck, I can't,
Jason.
Cody.
he said, talk with him, all we asked for, Brett Laughlin, all we asked for was some kind of a barrier between the road and the water retention area. The engineer that designed the plan put the bollards in the design across the road, and because it was being called Wisteria Township Park, the assumption was the township approved the additional bollards, and Brett said to me, we were fine with that, if that's what the township.
Well, here's the communication.
So-
I think there was actually
regardless of
three
where we
separate
are-
lines, wasn't there, Bill?
And the communication issue may be at the county level, because in my
Guaranteed.
is with the county, it was, we should probably put bollards across there because it's so dangerous to drive down the water's edge. But if the township's gonna take over the maintenance of it, then, other than, we need the bollards around the pond, the retention, you do whatever you want.
The important thing is they were going to give
talked to him, did he see, because I don't want to throw him under the bus, because did he see these plans and actually
No,
sign
I
off
know.
on them without comment?
What are you talking about?
The email from, I think John Gutierrez,
Yes, John Terrace.
where he specifically says that it's a comment section for the plan. So when this first one went out back in May, it was to the road commission, to the drain commissioner, and to Park Township, Ed DeVries, and it said Park Township, no comment.
So to show me what you got, I haven't seen any other.
Are you talking about the Fishback Top?
No, you have it. You have it in the email that I sent. I included, I
I
included
thought it was
that.
a question whether or not that was
So
included
you're
with
talking
the
about.
drawings with the cover line. Where's the drawing and the details with that cover line? I thought that was a question.
What's Fishback Tops is that?
Did Ed DeVries see these drawings and sign off as no comment? I would have asked that.
Were the drawings part of that cover line?
Yes.
One of the
So here's the
questions.
document that I sent, that Jeff is referring to. It's from Fishback, from the engineer. It's memo to Mr. Ed DeVries, Park Township, Mr. Ken Bosma, Pine Newhoff, Mr. Jody Carter, Ottawa County Road Commission, Mr. Dennis Cole, Ottawa County Resources, from Tracy Osmond, June 10, 2016. The Villas on Lake Mac construction documents revision goes through here, and under it says we offer the following itemized responses for all governing representatives. Review and consideration. If you would like more details or have additional context and comments, Park Township Planning Department. Number 1, approved as submitted, no additional comments. That's the document.
That's right.
So all of this could have been handed off in June. We could have had this all cleared up. And the road end committee is not advised of this, the board is not advised of this. This thing is moving, this thing is moving along, could have potentially affected.
Skip wants to defend it. Skip wants to.
I don't want to defend anything, I think you're jumping on something, I think that's part of the second submission of the PUD. It seems to me like something has been taken out of context here, which has been amplified by the fact that the road commission took that plan and called it a park and moved it on.
No, the
The
road
date
commission,
on this map right here where it shows the park is October 6th.
That's right, that's the road commission's
So
map.
that's not the road commission's map.
That's the engineer's map.
That is the engineer's map that was submitted by Fishbeck.
I'll be blunt, this whole conversation goes to, this board made a fairly clear line in the sand. We lost the battle over the villas, and we said, don't touch Wisteria. We know that you don't want it there. We know that you don't want a bunch of hillbillies launching their metal boats next year, $600,000 condos, but you don't get to touch it. You get to turn around in the middle. This is, I wasn't born. I was born in 1999. This is such a clear, this thing stinks.
So,
We have done exactly what we wanted. I don't know.
Wait a second.
hold on here. So to the clerk's comment that this plan was October 6th, that's also incorrect, because the permit for this, and a permit was issued on 4/25 of 2016, followed by a permit on 5/12 of 2016, bids and construction June 8th of 2016. But I want to be really clear, that this is the Covenant's engineering firm that submitted this plan to the Ottawa County Road Commission. And if you look at it clearly, and you follow the language in here that's printed on here by the engineering firm, it's in the center of the drawing below the collapsible painted steel bollard, Wisteria Township Park, entrance and parking lot. Ottawa County Road Commission did not label this Wisteria Township Park. I agree that we're getting what we want. We're getting from the manager's communications with John Gutierrez, we're getting what we want. What I think the issue that Trustee Hookster is appropriately bringing up is, how did this get past us? That's the issue.
It never got to us.
But it got to Ed DeVries.
I think,
This letter you're talking about from June 10th is about the PUD and construction on the property. There's nothing in here about Wisteria Road. So I'm not sure where you're.
I want to clarify one thing, because innuendo was made. It's going to sound like I'm defending the developer again. Fact, at the village committee meeting last Thursday afternoon, I asked the developer, Peter Engels, and Jason, his engineer, do you support us in wanting to have this open to the water as it's been in the past? They see it as a benefit. They aren't trying to close that off.
Jared.
And I asked the question, I got the answer.
Thank you for doing that.
Dan was there, Bill was there, but if you don't want to believe me, you don't need to believe me. They've submitted, I think, 3 separate drawings. I've heard this, I haven't seen all 3 separate versions, and the road commission continued to ask for change. I don't know what that's all about.
So-
Why did they do 3? I don't know.
Well, with all due respect, all 3 versions showed the exact same end, which was
Did I understand?
essential. Look at this one. This shows a bollard access. This is not what we wanted. For you to say that we still get that they support that. These aren't free. This was money that they expended to design and frankly, very calculated way around us.
Right.
That's why we never saw it. I feel like if I had made a phone call with Bill Cousins, we'd all still be sitting here as blind as bats to any of this going on.
Can I make a
And it's been going on for over a year.
Go ahead.
I don't like how Fishbeck sent this to the county without us seeing it.
Right.
I would like to go back and have them redo this the way we want to do it, so it's a part of public record.
Thank you.
Well,
Make that
as I
as a
say, the road
At
commission
their
didn't have to.
expense.
Is that a vote? Is that a
We have
vote?
no control over it. The road commission does.
Nope.
Correct, but I don't want this.
You want the
as a
label
public
on it.
record. I
We're
want
talking
it-
about Wisteria Township Park. It is not a township
Before
park.
it's a matter of record.
I want it corrected as to what we agreed to maintain it.
I'll work to.
I want the drawing
And-
redone at their
That's good.
expense.
And hold on, and Jan, what I heard, and Jill, I am not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think I heard you say was that if we want the ballards removed across the road, that I want to be really clear that we do not want ballards across the road. I want that part, even a motion, that there will be no ballards restricting the road. I want that, I don't want there to be any wiggle room,
Well, we want at least equal access to what has historically been there.
and
For
therefore,
small,
and I just.
That's already happened, what you just said has already happened.
and that's in writing
That's it.
between you and John there.
Okay, thank you. That's
That's
all
all
I,
misinterpreted what I said.
Again,
What I was told by the county was, here's the drawing, if you want to remove those bollards, go ahead.
and
So I put that in writing,
you did.
that we're removing the bollards.
Can you send that out to the board?
John has agreed with it, right?
Please send that out to the board.
Okay.
Can I make
Yeah.
one more statement? I'm getting a little frustrated about the process. With developments, with our road, on Ottawa Beach Road, we have all the plans set. Why don't we have all the approvals from the road commission prior to us approving the projects? All of a sudden, we come back, we need a roundabout in here. Ottawa Beach Road, they screwed up some driveways. It costs a lot more money. What's the process here? Can't we, before we approve a PUD, make sure they get approval from the road commission?
Yes.
Like, you know, I think our PUD was subject to approval of Water Resources Commissioner. I don't know, could we do that relative to the road? I know I brought up several issues relative to Wisteria, some of which Nick got into the conditions. One of which was, you know, they couldn't use it as a staging area, they had to keep it clean, if they damaged, they had to fix it, went on and on and on. Some of those got in there. I do remember also asking that they put some money in and paid it, and I remember the attorney jumping out during the public meeting, and Dan defending, well, maybe under some conditions we could ask that.
But
I don't know if we
just-
could
I
have
just
held up
see
the
the
approval of the PUD subject to the road commission's.
We require that their internal roads be all inconsistent, to be developed, acquired, constructed in accordance with the Ottawa County Road Commission standards and our requirements for private roads. So the cul-de-sac within the public right-of-way is subject to the Ottawa County Road Commission. What they showed in their original plan, they had the cul-de-sac, but didn't have that little piece coming off of it that they showed this plan to the road commission. So, again, it becomes a jurisdictional issue in that it's not ultimately our road, it's the road commission's. And so the PUD, we're regulating their use of their property, not what's going in the road. We could require them to pave the full thing because it is adjacent to their property. When I say the full thing, what I mean is from where the cul-de-sac is down to the lake.
To west.
Right. To the east, we couldn't because that's away from their property. And And so that's where the issue is coming.
But James' question, I think it's a very good one. In
Yeah,
the
we
future,
should.
can we make this approval, if we have PUDs, contingent upon the Ottawa County Road Commission, and we see all that.
Because we keep getting different drawings and
Yep.
different changes, and it's starting to be a pattern.
So you see it all at one time.
Yeah.
It's,
Yes, Nancy, you can.
John?
And what Jan is saying is that, you know, I believe this drawing was a sleight of hand that got caught, okay? And that whenever a developer sees an opportunity to take an inch, they're gonna try to take one. And, you know, to Jeff's comment, yeah, I, you know, $300,000-$500,000 condo buildings, yeah, they don't want Joe Schmo come in there and if possible. But then, of course, no, it's fine, it's what they get, it's because they got caught, okay? And we're always gonna have this with developers. We're going to have it with developers, and if they can get away with something, and if there's some way around, or if there's somebody who doesn't catch something, or doesn't file something, or doesn't catch it, then they're gonna get away with it. All right? And so that's the kind of thing going forward, that you've got to have complete full disclosure, and not allow things to be changed, and this is a sales pitch to potential homeowners. Oh, we have Township Park right here. Isn't this nuts, you know? With nobody saying, oh, there's Joe Schmo from across the tracks gonna walk down there and go fishing or something. So,
One of the other things I think that maybe that this board, the next board immediately needs to deal with is what do we want to do down there? And if we want to change anything, and my understanding is we got to go to the road commission, okay? They'll let us maintain it the way it's existed historically, okay? There's a lot of potential there, and in my opinion, we should improve that, get approval and all that, and the next board ought to make it a priority to say, here's what we want to do, and we ought to get it done in the spring before condos are sold, because once the condos are sold, and you want to go in and change anything, then the neighbors go in an uproar, well, we didn't know that you were going to, because that, what is that, I think 60-some feet wide, and we're only using maybe 40% of the width because of the junk trees and whatever. I'm not saying we should cut all the trees, but if we want to improve that to any degree beyond what it's been historically, we ought to do it before the condos are sold. Because then we get to deal with who the new neighbors are and whatever they were told. So, John, I agree.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Last year, in August 13th board meeting, we voted 7-0 to petition the road commission for the dedication of a number of roads, including the steering. Why didn't you do that?
You know, I had a very busy year, I had 4 elections.
This was last year,
It
right?
did not get to the top of my to-do list. It's simple as that.
Last year?
It did not get to the top of my to-do list.
Wait. The board votes 7-0 to direct you to petition the Ottawa County Road Commission, and you say, I'm busy, that I'm busy?
I am. I didn't see a timeline on that, Mike.
You're the chairman of the road committee.
I am, aren't I? Yes.
But not a very good one.
That's an astounding answer. I'm so disappointed. Why would, you realize that would have headed off a lot of this. That was a
Well,
7-0.
that's assuming we would have got them to vacate that or any of the road. And I think we've already heard that that's,
If you don't ask, you don't get an answer, and obviously, the ask was never done by the chairman of the road committee, who was directed by this board 7-0 to do so, and you were one of the 7 votes. Try to defend it. No, okay.
This is interesting, Jerry, because not even about 2 weeks later, August 21, Villas submits to the road commission their plans, their permits. How timely that you didn't do what we all voted to do. You voted yourself.
what's the date of that?
August 21, 2015. That you understand that it's not, you don't need a PhD to start connecting the dots to what I'm sure is a conspiracy theory to Jerry and you, but seems very real to anybody with an ounce of common sense that looks at this and says, I wonder how that happened. Look at the presidential election. People are so pissed off with career politicians. This is why. We represent why people are so angry when we allow this kind of crap to happen. And whether it was intentional or not, you need to at least understand that by not doing what the board told you to do, it's indirectly the cause of all this.
So let me understand this. So Jan Steger has responsibilities as the township treasurer that are statutory, right? And you do those, right? And you find time to do that. And sometimes the board directs you in terms of investments, and you go ahead and you do that kind of stuff. Here we have an executive member, the clerk position as executive member, 7-0, to request the vacate to the Ottawa County Road Commission for several road ends. And the clerk's answer is, I was too busy. That's a dereliction of your responsibilities, Mr. Clerk.
Let's
And
get
you
that
have,
over with.
I'm not done.
I could also say I'm disappointed,
And then you
that
have
also
law
disappointed the roading
and
committee.
election.
Did anybody on the roading committee ask where we were on this?
Yes, me. Yeah.
Okay.
If I had made a phone call to Bill, this conversation wouldn't be happening, Jared, and I'm not even the chair.
And I took it upon myself as a member of the road committee to try to find out when Mr. Cousins sent the black and white. My question was, why is this being called Wisteria Township Park? This could have been a massive tragedy to this township. And I would have to agree with Trustee Hoekstra. This goes back to the clerk not doing what this board directed him to do last year because, quote, I'm too busy.
Okay, we made a point.
You know,
I want to clarify a couple of things here. And I don't know if this board needs to do anything tonight. You asked to have us so we can take action if we needed to. I think we need to focus on, should this board be dealing with anything other than what we've got? We've got approval for a maintenance contract, so we can make sure we can continue to use, as we have in the past, although there's unfortunately, a retention pond that takes up part of the road, even though the water's always found right to the lake and it's right there. We gotta live with that. Or should we leave that for the next board to look at, making this the best we can make it, beyond what it's been in the past? That's what I'd like to see.
I would like to make a motion, as I discussed before, and recommended that we get a new map from Fishbeck showing what is supposed to be shown on this map.
So no bollards blocking access other than around the retention pond and taking the name off?
Taking the name off, at their expense.
I'll support that motion.
Well, and if you gotta add that huge pile of wood chips, and that was one of my comments, they're using it for staging, now of course I see, I hope I'm not the only person that's ever tried driving down a wood chip trail. Unless you have four-wheel drive, you're not getting on it. That, if you apply, that's, my visual math, that's probably about 400 cubic yards of wood chips. If you spread that out over there, no car other than four-wheel drive is getting back there, which is against the historical use. My mom's Prius could make it almost all the way down to the park where the sign is in the trash can. You put those wood chips down, you're limiting access to the people that have been.
So you don't have to issue any wood chips out.
No. What I think the biggest travesty here is that this board was hoodwinked by these guys again, and we are. I almost give you lawyer eyes. We're so terrible corporate lawyer. We sit here and let this happen. I won't do it. As long as I'm here, and I know you guys can't wait to get rid of me. That's fine. As long as I'm sitting here, I'm going to have an opinion on this stuff. And these guys need to be held, and we use the word accountable. They need to be held accountable. If we allow this to proceed, even close to this, we're giving it to them.
So, we don't want the wood chips. What else?
I have.
If there's any way to control, which I don't think there is, I think Bill's right, there's no way for us as a board to control it. The one thing that we can control, however, is their PUD. So if we're gonna do a little give and take with these guys, let's throw a stop work order on them, and now let's see how badly they wanna talk.
Based on?
Based on this, they call themselves covenant development. There's nothing biblical about this, other than the biblical abuse.
And Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to
Well,
say.
we got a motion on the floor right now. Made and seconded. Is there anything else dealing with that motion?
Read it back, please, I don't quite understand.
Make a motion to require Fishbeck Engineering to resubmit a accurate, drawing, to us at their expense, showing, what we agreed to here, without the park name. Are they responsible for wood chips?
that part of the road commission requirement of approval, Bill, do we know?
That was part of the road commission approval. I can check to see if the road commission.
I don't know why they would care.
It was an approval, it was not a requirement, though, please be clear about that. The road commission has never required wood chips.
I wouldn't think so.
They did
And
not
I
decide.
put that as part of my motion to, have a new map and the removal of the wood chips.
Yep. And is that map, and we want a map that does not show bollards except around the water retention?
That is correct.
Correct. And we want it submitted to us to look at prior to being submitted to the county.
Just for clarification, Jane, do you want to require Fishback to provide that? Do you want Covenant to provide that?
Covenant, whoever they want.
Dan, can we even do that, are we asking?
I don't think that you're asking too much. Again, the road right of way is technically outside of the PUD,
Correct.
but it's adjacent to the PUD. It's under the road commission's control, not ours. But for you to ask for it and require it, I think you're fine. When you get into the stop work order, there you've got to have a violation of our PUD provisions, which the drawing that you approved didn't have any of this stuff in it.
Correct. Well, what, and how,
But again, that area is not part of the PUD.
And I would submit to support that, an email that I received Friday, November 4th from Brett Laughlin. And he sent this to Tom Elhart and to John Peters as well. His last sentence is, the road commission will work with the township to implement any changes in the permitted work in order to accomplish the goals for the Wisteria Township Park area. So that was as of Friday. So if we go back to them asking for these changes, I can't imagine, in reference, and I'll give this to Mr. Cousins, we can reference this email, I think we'll be in good shape.
So Dan, it's okay for me to add into that motion, we want Covenant to remove the wood chips?
I would say so, because one of the things that we did have in the PUD is that not be a staging area. I don't know that the wood chips are necessarily staging or what exactly they are.
So what if they
It's-
just
it's-
dig them up with front end loader and leave a big hole there? Do we want?
Again, that's the road commission type of thing. It is a public right of way.
oh, I see what you're
It is, while it's not an approved road, it's still a road. And I think the road commission could have potential liability because you've got governmental immunity statute that has an exception for highways, roads. And so ultimately, the road commission is gonna want that to be essentially
So
passive.
I'll add to my motion, other than removing the wood chips and return to previous condition. Got that?
Okay,
saying.
so
I think so.
you agree with that motion? So that's the motion. Are we ready to deal with this motion?
Well, can we still have discussion or no?
Sure.
The only question I have was, do we have, I'm legally naive, do we have any teeth to go after them? They lied, they put, it'd be like me opening a hookah shop that said Huntsberger's Hookahs, and then the implication is that I work with Jerry Huntsberger. When Jerry Huntsberger calls and says, hey man, what the? You see what I'm saying? They put Township Park on their drawings. That's a direct implication that they're working in concert with us.
Right.
All the field
And that was the
correspondence
impression
I've
that
seen-
Brett Laughlin had as a result of the time.
They are working in concert with Park Township. If that is, as Bill and Skip and Jerry said, is categorically false, then we have to have some measure to go back at them. That's so
Well, the measure
frustrating.
is the motion on the floor to tell them redo it, take your name off.
Right, but I think with that.
You want monetary damages, what are you looking for?
Well,
I mean,
ultimately looking to
We're
fix
gonna
the
try to
problem.
make it right.
And that's what I'm trying to do with
That's
this.
what the motion is.
Well, correct, but how do you, this is disturbing, so you weren't following us, I wasn't following it, I have to say, and you were, and good for you, and like the motion that was made and didn't get followed up on, I would have said, I forgot. But how do you follow this up? We need, I guess that's up to the trustees to just keep following this up. I mean, this is too easy to be overlooked. It would just.
Well, it'd be nice if number one covenant included it, it'd be nice if the road commission included this. Maybe everybody assumed something that wasn't the case, Jim?
And our
To
jobs.
answer your question, it goes back to the public perception. Right, wrong, the other issue, et cetera. And when I'm hearing someone say, didn't have time, or, well, it's gonna be taken don't know. I don't know that answer. I'm not making an excuse, I'm not making an accusation. But it looks that way if you look at it from a 10,000 foot.
I think if this hadn't been caught now, once the bollards were up and the road was blocked, everybody would have caught it. And we'd have been in the road commission's face, and we'd be right back to where we are now, as long as you take responsibility for the maintenance. And I'm not so sure the liability beyond the cul-de-sac. You know, you talk about road liability, I suspect they're gonna expect us to have maintenance and therefore some liability for the condition of the road to meet their standards. And the bollards, when they had to come down, we'll be dealing with it then. This wasn't gonna be one of those things that it's gonna be forever the way it was. We were left out of the loop by everybody.
I don't know. I'm gonna be real corporate and say, I don't think we were. I think Jerry Felix was a very involved man. And for this to have escaped his attention for that whole time, I would be stunned if that was true. Now, I'm not accusing him of everything, but for as involved as that guy was, come on, Jerry, just work at this stuff.
How long's he been gone?
He was the
As
man.
far as the dates on these
This
things?
goes back to 2015.
Well then, if nothing else, I want to address one other issue that needs fixing. Skip, if the board gives you a directive, 7-0 vote, you're actually going to be the votes for, you gotta do it. I mean, we gotta fix that issue.
So we will.
Because
I'm
otherwise,
gonna call for the question in this motion, we can continue discussion, we're getting unrelated, I think. We got a motion on the floor, are we clear on the motion?
Yep.
I'm gonna call for the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now,
Now, I like this.
excuse me just a minute, Michael. Mr. Cousins, I assume you're going to follow through with that to covenant and or the road commission? How do we do it? Let's just make sure.
Oh,
Okay. So we make sure that that's taken care of. Yes, Michael?
Thank you, sir. I am very distressed to hear that an executive member of this board, I'll use the word ignore, a 7-0 directive to take action. And I feel that the clerk has violated 3.1 Code of Ethic conduct to work in transparency and an accountable manner. I'll let you look up the details, but in conducting their official duties, township officials, employees shall observe both the spirit and intent of all applicable laws, township ordinances, township policies, and procedures. Actions of officials and employees shall be consistent with the township's best interest rather than for personal gain. I'm not claiming the clerk did this for personal gain, but when I hear I'm too busy, it really does bother me. The township's interests were to petition the Ottawa County Road Commission for those roads. Failure to do so, to represent the interests of the board, for me, I feel recommends a censure of the clerk for failing to act on the directive of this board. And I make that as a motion.
I'll support it.
Okay, the motion made and seconded. First, may I ask a question? Was it the clerk's responsibility?
He was directed.
Is that what the minute said? The clerk was directed?
What happens when the board votes 7-0 to do something? Whose job is it to do it?
That's what my question
And
is.
is also chair of the road end committee.
Well, whose job was it then?
Well, that's what my question
Was it yours?
But we also
But there
heard,
was
well, wait a
administration.
minute, Mr. Hunsberg, we heard from the clerk himself that he said he was aware of that directive and he was, quote, too busy to take action on it. So clearly he's assuming responsibility for it.
Mr. Clerk, take the responsibility, or was it administration's?
What do the minutes say, Jeff? You have them?
Motion made, motion supported, motion carried, motion is made by Peter, and supported by Stager, to approve the recommendation of the Road End Committee, of which you're chair, and petition the Ottawa County Road Commission to abandon a limited number of road ends that would benefit from additional attention from the township. Petitions would be submitted for Riley Street, James Street, Wisteria, Ashwood, Chippewa, Post, 160th Avenue, 701. Peter also stated a road end we own on South Shore Drive is coming to the forefront, and would like to make some improvements with the budget dollars allocated to this area. We'd like to clean up the property line, reposition or replace the bench on the property, place a concrete cap on the seawall, and make the surface smooth to the water's edge, among other improvements.
any of the other petitions done?
Wouldn't that then go to the manager for action?
Well, in the past, the road committee's made recommendations, for example, to put up certain signs, stop signs, no parking signs at posts. The clerk order those signs and place the signs, I doubt it. I would think it's an administrative function, but you interpret whatever way you want to.
Was that done?
My question is, what the other recommendations, were they done and who did them?
I don't think any of the 7.
So
Is that what your question is?
Project was completely built.
None of them were.
Was the, yeah.
The other stuff, excuse me, your question was the other things were they done?
Right.
Yes, I think the answer is yes.
Who did them?
I think it's an administrative function.
Did you do them, Skip?
So Felix, is this Felix's dereliction? Are we bringing him back after all these years?
Well, you continue to, so
Well,
go ahead. I'm asking the question. We ought to be factually correct on what we're doing.
I agree. Who should have done it? Dan Martin?
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to petition anybody. But who would have been, the motion itself doesn't identify who would be doing it. I think it would typically be then the manager, who's a professional manager of the township, who would be expected to carry out, even though he wasn't specifically directed, because it doesn't say that the clerk, I can look to see under the law, in a sense, who's obligated to do it, but I believe the manager could file a petition to abandon the road ends.
I think,
Sure,
if
yeah.
you go into Felix's files, you'll find that there were several emails between him and John.
There was certainly discussion, I know that, and because of, I think, some of the complexity, even that we heard in this one. So at this point in time, on Wisteria, we're going to take on a maintenance agreement, and at some point we may say we're going to go through the lengthy and costly process of a hearing and working with DNR. Yeah, we got to do it just like an individual does.
I remember the cost, I remember Dan having the discussion because Skip raised the cost of each petition, how we have to do each petition individually. The group discussed, that's fine, it's only a couple $1,000, these are worthwhile investments.
But there were discussions that way. Were there emails?
There were emails between Felix and Gutierrez.
Then how would you know that if you weren't involved in that?
And how come we never heard this?
How would you know that there was
Come
emails
on,
between
you
the manager?
can't deny how bad this looks. No, no, the censorship, take that off the table. Let's just be, let's be man to man on this.
The manager mentioned in passing several times that he had email contact with Gutierrez.
To the board.
No, to me.
And as chair of the road committee, what did you do about it?
The manager was having communication with Gutierrez.
But you didn't have any communication.
Generally, Michael, members of the roading committee of this board don't have communications
But
with the road commission. I know you make an exception, Jeff makes an exception. That's not the function of the board.
Well, just wait a minute.
The board's supposed to be policy making.
Well, first of all,
I mean, you had information tonight you presented that even our manager didn't have tonight. I think we don't.
because I am on the road end committee, and I'm also an elected trustee until November 20th. And I'm doing my responsibilities, because apparently some others don't.
My point is, I think it's probably confusing for some people we deal with when we don't go through. You presented stuff here tonight that I don't think the manager ever saw. We're dealing with Wisteria, just as an example.
I'm sorry.
The road commission people probably wonder.
No, not at all.
You don't
Not
think
at all.
that?
They were wondering why they didn't hear from us.
Trustee Nessel, or sorry, future trustee Nessel, would you like to add to this conversation? You seem
Yeah.
quite intent to speak up back there.
Am I allowed to?
Sure, come off the microphone.
Yeah, you're elected.
If the chair recognizes you, you are allowed.
Denise National, 112 Greenhill Drive. I'm embarrassed for the board, because here we are arguing about something that really we've already found a remedy for, and all of the people here are so self-righteous about what was done and what was not done. There's nobody sitting on this board that we couldn't say, you didn't do something that you said you would do. So let's all grow up.
Don't speak for me.
Well,
Don't speak for
Michael,
me.
you're out of line. She's got the floor.
Don't speak for me, Denise.
I will.
That's unfair.
It's not unfair.
Yep. Denise, make a comment to the whole board, please.
Okay, it's not unfair. I think, Joyce was just sitting back there. You're taking up our time for the benefit of the community, as far as I can see. Jan made a motion, that motion would correct it. This is the kind of thing that I, as a construction lawyer for 20 plus years, this is a minimal thing. Things like this get through all the time. And it's too bad that it happened, but it's corrected. So I say, let's all go on. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board on the motion that's on the floor?
Goodness, we have Denise to come in.
I'm waiting to hear from the people. Michael, I'll call for the motion. That's my
Withdraw the motion.
Oh, you're withdrawing the motion?
Yes.
Who seconded the motion?
I did. I'll happily withdraw it. My goal is not to punish you, my goal is to fix what's broken here. And that's not a good answer. You can't do that. Too many things.
I'd like to move the agenda to manager's report. You had one issue that we put under an action item that's been dealt with. Did you have anything else on the report? Okay, then I'm going to go to manager's contract. This is number 11. I think it's self-explanatory. I'll be glad to take questions, I'm sure the clerk and/or the treasurer would. I feel strongly to be fair. We dropped a lot on this guy at that meeting just before he was supposed to be gone for 2 weeks. First of all, I'd like to have a motion, even though it's kind of coming from the executive committee, let's formalize. Let's have a motion, put it on the floor, please.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, motion's made, and if you don't know what it is, it's our original contract with the interim manager was that he would be paid for 10 less days in September because he was going to be gone. The fact of the matter is we dropped several things on him, which are documented here. It would probably be easy to argue when we're not going to do that he went well beyond the 10 days. And so I'm suggesting, and the executive committee feels that this ought to be clarified by the board. You approve the initial contract, and to amend the contract, I think this board should do that. So that's what the motion's about. Any comments, questions, whatever?
I think you certainly heard it.
Thanks. All right, call for the question. Comment? Okay, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. And now we go to public comment. Second opportunity to address the board. Desire to do that, we ask you to come to the microphone, give your name and your address. And let's start with this side, front row. Let's go to the second row, please.
Dan Mitchell, 2433 Michigan Walk, Tower. I had a speech here aimed at thanking the 4 outgoing board members in a lot of different ways. And I think that I can do that simply by saying thank you. What has changed the direction of my comments is comments from incoming trustee Denise Nestle. And frankly, they scare the living crap out of me, excuse me. For you, Denise, to call what happened here tonight a minor issue is what, there have been minor issues like this going on for 6 years on an increasing basis, where finally the trustees of this board are finding out that they've been happening. And tonight, the actual mechanism for how the failures happened was revealed. As I understand it, there was a motion made in August that didn't get followed through on by whoever's in action was responsible for that, be it the township manager or the clerk. And then more recently, the current, what we call him, community enforcement manager, had the responsibility of signing off on a project, and he did, without communicating a very, very important aspect that could have blocked a road end for township people. And we're calling this a minor issue, things? Okay, that really, really makes me nervous about the incoming board, and I can only hope that the other board members who are incoming are going to look at the example of the stewardship of their duties, representing the constituents, and not think about them in the context of a legal nitpick. Thank you once again to the 4 board members for 4 years or more of solid stewardship to this township.
Thank you. Anybody else in that role that would like to address the board? And we're going to go back on this side. Anybody on this side that would like to address the board? Come over to this side. Anybody on this side that would like to address the board? Close the public comment. Thank you. Taking time to address us, those of you that did. The next item is board member comments, committee agency reports. This is certainly an opportunity, and I want to start and go with the board trustees that are leaving first. It's your opportunity, and I'm going to go right around the table and start with Jeff.
Thanks. And I had written something, I don't think I'll maybe even bother reading it, but I will at least highlight a few of the points in it. I'm remembering 4 years ago, right now, sitting in the audience, and there was that very mean spirit, whatever you want to call it, that yellow sheet going around about Jerry and Felix. And I remember how the discussion at the board, it wasn't a farewell speech like I think any of you intended. It was a debate over whether or not these accusations were true. You remember that? I do. Yeah, all right. I remember sitting there thinking, how sad. Really nice group of people. I've been watching you guys for probably 6 months at that point, thinking to myself, holy shit, what am I getting into? But I did it, and some fun things. I can't read it. I learned a lot of fun words. Optics, delta, and, looking at things from 10,000 feet. I learned one crazy guy's address, 679 Mazda. I know, where's the joke? The crux of my comment was, and I want to throw a personal side of this too. Whatever just transpired, and I said this earlier to Jerry, Skip, Jerry, and everyone else at this table, you guys need to know that whatever differences we've had them. If I'm driving down the road and I see you in the ditch, I'm going to stop. If you call me and tell me you're in trouble, I'm going to show up, drop whatever I'm doing, and come help you. I care about you guys, all of you genuinely, despite, and I mean this, Skip and Jerry especially, because I know we've clashed, especially you two, without hesitation, for life. Nothing's going to change that. I just want you to know that. And my advice to the group, and I was going to make a bigger thing out of it, is please listen to the people that elected you. Don't listen to some slick-talking salesman from out of town. Don't listen to some fictitious millionaire that supposedly lives on the south side. Listen to the people that pay your salary as measly as it is, and please stand up and have the courage to stand up for the people that are counting on you to do it. They need you here. The reason government's so effed up right now is because too many of us are in it for ourselves. That's why I'm getting out. I don't have the temperament for this, and frankly, I've got 3 beautiful reasons waiting for me at home that I've dedicated way too much time away from. So, anyway, good luck to all of you. I genuinely wish Dan and George and Denise, I do wish you all the greatest success, because as everyone's been saying lately, your success is our success, and it's still our country. So, thank you and good luck, and it's been a privilege, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Jen will come back now. I'd like to do the trustees first. Jen.
It has been, for the most part, a pleasure to serve on this board. It's been a learning experience. There has been some animosity between myself and other members of the board. And for that, I it's not, that didn't happen with that other lady. So, again, thank you for letting me serve. I say that to the citizens in this room and to the board members. And the museum had a spooky thing, candlelight by Cape on House, and I dressed up as a crotchety old man. All you did was put on a hat, and the kids, and the board, the board discussed finances, received our 50K, received 100K from Holland, the city of Holland, and of course, not from, we call Holland Charter. And there was some other private monies in there. The board's in good shape. The museum is in good shape. Things are happening. The veterans program is coming up very soon. Again, thank you for serving and thank you for letting me serve.
Thank you. Michael?
I have a really exciting report about our Music in the Parks program. On Saturday evening, October 29th, with our partners, the Ottawa County Fair Board, who did an absolutely outstanding job. And I leave office knowing that one of my really dear pet projects about putting music in the parks will be sustained in this township. The response that we had on October 29th, the trick or treat, then the live music, the presence of our fire department, they brought over the big apparatus. The deputies that were there from the Ottawa County Sheriff Department who participated in handing out the candy. We had hundreds of people. We had a line from the fairground entrance by the grandstand all the way to the community building, waiting for the trick-or-treating kind of stuff. And when you see moms and dads dancing with their little ones and the little kids dancing amongst themselves and the interactions with our public safety officers in a very positive, constructive manner, it said to me, this is community. And that's what the program has always been about. And again, hats off to our good partners, Ottawa County Fair. They have quickly picked up on the value that promoting the Ottawa County Fair throughout the entire year, not just for a week, is really the way to make an impactful impression on our community about the value of living here in Park Township. So it was just an unbelievable. You were there, Gary.
Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
That was a grand slam homework.
And so hats off to everybody that was involved. Nikki was a partner on all that, and all that. It was just outstanding. So good stuff like that. So it's been an honor to serve our residents on this board, on the ZBA, and also as co-chair of the West Michigan Regional Airport Authority as part of my responsibilities here. Park Township has been my home for a long time. I remember when there was about 9,000 people in this community, and now we're, bucking 18,000. Okay, and it's really joyful as I ride my bike. I see that essentially life has not changed. It's still about farms. It's still about living a lake life. It's still about going to work every day. It's still the same argument about the airport. Some like it, some don't. But at the end of the day, it's about people who want government to be supportive of them and not in their face. And I ask for restraint to the new board that we advise yourselves around what you do in terms of legislation and to keep life simple here. I've learned a lot from this experience, and one of the learnings is that politics is a game of winners and losers. And unfortunately, the wins are few, and the losses are long-lasting. We're experiencing that in Winstrom Park with a very bad decision to cut the trees down. And those consequences as a result of the losses, they keep coming back like a bad penny. I'm impressed with the members of this board who have worked without a hidden agenda, and unfortunately, not all have. and that's caused a substantial amount of friction and a lot of division. I'm disappointed that this board has become so fractionated both vertically and horizontally, and I ask the leadership to look at that and manage this board as a board of peers, and that would be important. I want to thank Bill Cousins for assuming the responsibilities of interim manager. I think he's done a really fine job, and I wish you continued happiness and health and success. And I want to say to the new board members, I wish you courage. I wish you determination to do what is right for this township. Your lack of experience is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to question. It is not an excuse to accept anything at face value. I want to thank Dan Martin. So Dan and I worked together for about 12 plus years on the planning commission and here, and he has been a great mentor. He taught me the understanding the planning process with legal guidance, mentoring as the chair of that, advising and helping me serve our residents, and always with the best intention and the best process. So Dan, I can say you are a fine and honorable lawyer and a true gentleman. And then, I want to thank you. You've been my role model as a distinguished public servant, with a thought approach. And despite some of the unfair treatment you received by some members of this board and staff, both past and present, you always keep your head high. You always keep your focus on the residents, and it has been a privilege to serve. And lastly, to our uniformed safety officers, you are heroes. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I'll pass.
Seriously.
Good luck.
I'm done. No, I do have two reports, first of all, business first. I know, seriously. The planning commission, Timberline Acres Take Care, we worked on PUD ordinance, we worked on special use ordinance. Didn't have time for master plan. But, council did, work on the wording for that last pesky part at Macatawa. I'm going to hand this out. As it turns out, I will not be able to attend this next planning commission as a member of the board of trustees since the date was moved past November 20th. Who knew? So, in anticipation of that, I just want y'all to see what Council Dan Martin has done, and there's more. These are from the draft minutes, but look at it. It's kind of what Denise and I worked on, and he added a couple little things. It has become clear after these many years. Macatawa is a pretty special place with pretty special needs and pretty special issues like safety. So thank you, Dan, for doing this. If this goes through, fine. Denise has been on the planning commission. I'm sure she'll carry through one way or another with this knowledge. Interestingly enough, at the public comment section at last month's planning commission, a new owner of a Midwest One home came out and spoke. And he said, no, I know you're not getting density, but here's what I want, or I meant to the master plan, here's what I'd like you to take going forward. Keep the density down. This place is, there's so many people coming in. It's just, I mean, of course, he has his home, but he wanted to talk about density, he wanted to talk about, he needs the marina. So I just thought that was cute after all these years. The Ottawa County Fair Board, I don't have the financials yet, and I feel like Sergeant Converse after Fire Chief spoke, Mike stole my thunder. Yes, the mud run and the October 29th band was awesome, and the Halloween trick or treat was terrific. And the fair is now continuing to work on winter activities and on next year's fair, the lease, and they've added a new member. did write down all my thoughts. You all were so at 10,000 feet with your comments. I went pretty specific, all about me. And so,
That is so you.
I'm gonna go with what you got. But I am from the south side, and I appreciate it, and you've always said you've appreciated a perspective from the south side. We're 10% of the population here, and there's no one from the new board from the south side, so I thought I'd throw in a little south side stuff here. Here are 3 of you, and I don't know that I have enough here, because I can't count either. Under one, but I just had a few things, and as the segue from my fair board thing is, one of my big surprises was being put on the fair board as a liaison, and what a great group of people. I can't tell you how much fun it has been. They are such hard workers, and I'm glad that you have supported that, and you might have helped transition from that music to that. So I have my south side issue here. I have other issues like the key that I never got to open up the township hall. I was coming from the south side early on those planning commission nights. I still think we ought to have a videographer here, even if it's one person tonight. You get paid, and is it going to be every board meeting? Okay.
Hillary Clinton's speechwriter.
It's
Some of this
kind of wacky, isn't it? Wacky and boring, I know. But that's what I wrote down, and I'll send it to you, and I'm gonna send it to the new board members too, email, because I think, just read it over. It has to do with part-time employers, it has to do with planning commission, and I thank you, honestly, for, as I said in here, the single most transformative thing that is having a new planning consultant. It has changed things. There's trust, she's knowledgeable, Jan Johnson from Main Street. It's huge, it's been huge, and I think we could have had the master plan done, all this stuff could have been done, it's getting done. Of course, I read over the consent agenda, she's expensive. It's all to the good, she knows what she's talking about. She's paying for herself. I talk about the sound system, lots of stuff. And to another point, you're a strong manager, and to your comment, Denise, too. There is it may seem fractionated, whatever, and maybe it is, but there's a history here of administration and you and the people who are in the office a lot. Sometimes I come and I'd say, why am I here? Decisions have been made, and that's where it comes from, communication. And there's a history here, so bear with us, and you will see that. Maybe it'll be better with you, maybe it's the personalities, but up to this point, I mean, in the years I've been here, it's been, we'll get a new manager, that's good. We have a new planning consultant, that's good. You're the supervisor, you need to know, I mean, as strong as you are, over communication is good. Not communication, that's not good. So that's part of the history. And as at the end I say, most of the time, as the professionals we are, we walk out and we're friends as much as we, whatever fisticuffs. Anyhow, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a wild ride. And I've enjoyed it. I mean, I had to either, and I moved out of township, so I won't even be on planning commission or ZBA, so I had to make a choice, run again or leave my husband, so.
How fast did you get your?
Give me a minute.
They're in the garage, I saw them. You were thinking about it.
Thank you. I'm gonna go back and catch those that we skipped over, Jan.
I got a little emotional here with all of this. It's been a roller coaster. I've been here 27 years, served 4 terms, and this has been a challenging board. I've learned a lot. I've had a lot what you were doing. And I so appreciate that. And I just love what I do here, and I hope going forward I can do what the residents need and make you guys proud. Thanks very much.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Keating?
I attended the MAC Policy Committee meeting with Jerry in his absence. One of the things we did at that meeting was, we've had a service delivery committee at the MAC working for a number of years on assimilating all of the many assets we have in this community and the contributions to them, et cetera. And they finally came in with their final report. There are 3 notable community assets that are a part of their study. Big Red, the Pump House Museum, and our rural community. They've accepted the policy. They're moving forward to endorse the framework of future coordinated giving to the many community assets we have. And the board voted to seed that with $25,000 from their fund balance. So I'm sure we'll have the opportunity in the future as a board to contribute money that will help all of the assets of this entire region. The only other thing I have is, I don't know if anybody noticed, but there was an election on Tuesday. Countywide turnout was 73%, Park Township, of course, was 78%. We, the day of the election and leading up to it, we processed 3,176 absentee ballots. We had 8,046 people show up at the polls. Thanks to Deputy Dykens and her staff, in spite of the fact that it was our biggest turnout ever, it was the smoothest election I've been involved in. I think this was my 15th or 16th election. It was an absolute dream. I had to step to the county by midnight, which is unheard of, and it was just, from my standpoint, a perfect election. And to the 4 of you, Godspeed.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna give you a couple of business items, and I have some comments I'd like to make. Jan and Skip and I met at Fillmore Complex. Bo Cousins joined us. We met with Al Vanderberg, the County Administrator, Marcy Verbeek, her Human Resource Director today, going through applications, and there's approximately 30. There's several very, very, very good candidates. We're working on narrowing that down and putting a process in place. We have dates. We had a meeting, what I refer to as the Park Township Trustee Candidate Orientation Meeting. And they weren't board members, they were candidates for trustee. We included all of the candidates. There were 5 for the 4 seats. Thought it was a very good meeting. You folks are going to be hard to replace, but again, this way, we're all going to get replaced someday. We're going to have some good board members. I'm pleased with that. They agreed at that meeting to certain dates and the process for the hiring of a manager, which obviously is #1 priority. Just know that that's going well. A lot of carryover projects, and it's not that we didn't work hard as a board, we accomplished a lot as a board. And in my opinion, we were a board that matters on a lot of things. Were there things that, looking back, we could have done better, or we could have got done, we didn't? That's always going to be the case. I think we accomplished a lot. And know that those projects aren't going to get lost. The new board's going to have the track shoes on when they come in starting in December. Enough on the business impact. I got to say, I never was so proud of Michael, and saying it's a sense of community at the event at the fairground. The Halloween thing, the band, whatever, there were hundreds and hundreds, by far the biggest turnout we ever had. It's tough to have a community center when you're a township. The city can have a town center, That's the closest thing that we have. I haven't felt that good since our centennial a year ago, quite frankly. I thought it was phenomenal. Lauren's not here, there are people from the Fair Board. Laura, thank you. It's a great partnership and we need to expand on it. The election, I used to run elections, Skip, and I used to think it was tough back then, the old mechanical machines and all this and that. There's a lot of worry and concern over elections, that everything's going to go right, and I can say this as a senior citizen. Most of the people that you get to work the polls, because they're available, are not young people. And we got to be very proud. And Danielle, you and your group, Skip, if anything went wrong, you could have been fried, and should be, okay? I'm very proud of how we conducted it, and I can't even imagine all the complexities of what it is today, and I haven't run elections for 20-some years, so I'm glad I don't have that. General comments. I think being a public servant, if it doesn't humble you, there's something wrong. I heard comments, and I want you to know, I take to heart. I come across, I think, as a real tough, crusty old soul. I'm just as soft on the inside as anybody else. And I do listen, I do learn. In fact, every day is a learning experience. I thank you for the constructive comments. I'll take them to heart. My goal is to do my best after every board meeting. First of all, I prepare for them, but after a meeting, even if they go extremely well or they don't go well, I say, how could that have been a better board meeting? And, you know, I think as a team, we've done a lot of good things. Transparency and communications, those words came up as you talked. They're key. It's a journey, it's not a destination. And I'm not saying we're there, but we've sure come a long way, folks. When I got on this board 8 years ago, there basically wasn't a website. Nobody saw the agenda stuff in advance. They never saw the bills payable. Everything's online the week before the board meeting. Everything you had here tonight was available to the public 1 week ago today, including every bill, every backup piece of documentation you had. And I think we can all be proud of that. It doesn't mean we've arrived. It's something we got to keep working at. I think we need to respectfully embrace our differences. And there's differences on this board. There's differences, I'm sure, on the next board. There's differences in this community. In fact, that's going to be the challenge of national. Looking at, the elections, we're a divided country. I don't think we're divided to that extent here. We need to recognize that we need to appreciate people that are different than us, including their opinions. Every day is a new opportunity. It's a learning experience. And as I get older, and I'm almost ready to admit that I'm old, but I'm not there yet. I used to hear about people that they got wisdom. As they got older, you get wisdom by screwing up and recognizing that there was a better way to do it. And there's a lot of things that I can do better. In my opinion, we were a board that matters on a lot of things, and I could go through a whole list of things that we did. I'm not going to get into that kind of detail. I'm proud of having the opportunity to work with each and every one of you. I think I've said this before, and I'll say it from my heart. There's not a person sitting at this table, not one, that I don't have great respect for, that I don't trust. And that's been on any and every issue that's come up. Do we have differences of points of view or different opinion? Absolutely. And most of the time, I think we were able to express those in a professional way once in a while. And I'll take my share of the blame, which is a big slice of it, to try and keep it toned down. And that's all part of the learning. I do wish each and every one of you well. Hope you stay involved somehow, even if you're moving out of the community. You still have to stay for it. So, for me, and I said some things at the beginning that are from my heart. I appreciate each and every one. Anybody that steps forward to do public service is sticking their neck out. And you're going to be at risk in some things, but the rewards more than balance it off. On some days, it's really to say, why in the world are we involved in this? Okay? It's because we care. It's because we know we can make a difference in a very positive way. Are there downsides to it? There are, and it is time consuming. It does take you away from your family. if my kids and grandkids were in this area, I'd be following it.